The story begins deep inside the dark and terrifying jungles of Kenya. A teenage boy named 3 is running for his life. He is not a normal human. He belongs to a powerful alien race called the Lorik, who are being hunted to extinction. 3 leaps across a massive 100-foot-wide ravine with superhuman speed and agility. But his incredible powers are not enough to save him. Suddenly, a terrifying group of tall, pale hunters called Mogadorians surrounds him in the shadows. They wear long, dark trench coats and carry devastating high-tech alien weapons. Before 3 can even fight back, the hunters strike him down, ending his life instantly. Thousands of miles away on a sun-drenched beach in Florida, another teenager named Daniel is riding a jet ski through the turquoise sea. Daniel feels completely carefree and happy, enjoying the warm sun with his friends. He thinks he is just a normal teenager living a great life. But he is harboring a massive secret. Daniel is actually number 4. He is one of the 9 remaining gifted Lorik children hidden across the earth. Suddenly, Daniel screams in pure agony and collapses into the water. A terrifying circular scar is violently burning its way into the flesh of his ankle. This is a magical warning sign. It means number 3 is dead. Daniel drags himself out of the water, shaking with absolute terror. He knows the hunters are coming for him next because they must kill the children in a strict numerical order. His guardian, a stern and vigilant middle-aged man named Henri, immediately orders him to pack everything. They must abandon their lives tonight. Daniel's heart breaks because he is tired of running and erasing his past. They burn all their documents, load their few belongings into a truck, and flee into the dark night. After hours of driving, they finally reach a tiny, isolated town called Paradise, Ohio. Daniel must now adopt a completely new identity as John Smith. Henri rents a creaky, dilapidated old farmhouse surrounded by barren woods and choked by thick autumn mist. He immediately transforms the dark basement into a high-tech command center filled with glowing blue crystals and monitoring screens. Henri looks John in the eye and gives him a strict rule. Never draw attention to yourself. John promises to stay hidden, but his deep loneliness and curiosity are growing stronger. The next morning, John prepares to enter his new school, Paradise High. The building looks cold and institutional, with industrial fluorescent lighting and rows of weathered lockers. John can feel his heart racing as he walks through the crowded hallways. He feels completely disconnected from the human world. Suddenly, John stops in his tracks and stares at a beautiful creative girl named Sarah Hart. Sarah is holding a vintage camera, looking quiet and artistic. The moment John locks eyes with her, he feels a strange spark. But someone else notices his gaze. A cruel, towering football player named Mark James steps into John's path. Mark is the school bully and Sarah's toxic ex-boyfriend. Mark looks at John with deep hostility and threatens him to stay away. John remembers Henry's strict warning and chooses to look down, walking away quietly to avoid a massive fight. Later that afternoon during a science video class, the school lights suddenly flicker. John feels a violent, burning sensation rushing through his veins. Panic sets in as his hands suddenly begin to glow with a blinding, intense blue-white light. This is his very first legacy power, known as the Lumen. John drops his books and bolts out of the classroom in total terror, hiding his glowing hands inside his pockets. He sprints all the way back to the farmhouse, screaming for Henri. John is terrified that he is completely losing control of his body. Henri runs over, grabs John's hands, and subverts the light using cool well water. Henri explains that John's true warrior powers are finally awakening. He tells John that the burning blue light will allow him to resist fire and generate devastating energy blasts. But this means they must train twice as hard to control the power before the Pale Hunters trace the energy signature to Ohio. The next day at school, John meets a brilliant but heavily bullied boy named Sam Good. Sam is obsessed with aliens and outer space because his father mysteriously vanished years ago. Mark James and his aggressive football friends corner Sam in the schoolyard, knocking his things to the ground and mocking him ruthlessly. John watches the bullying and feels an overwhelming surge of anger. He refuses to stay quiet this time. John steps in and firmly orders Mark to back off. Mark laughs in his face and tries to shove John hard. But John's alien strength activates instantly. He easily absorbs the impact without moving an inch, leaving Mark shocked. Before a massive brawl can break out, a teacher arrives and commands everyone to disperse. Sam looks at John with pure amazement and gratitude, realizing this new kid is completely different. Later that evening, Sarah approaches John with a warm smile. She thanks him for standing up for Sam and invites him to a festival. John's face lights up with genuine happiness. That night, John and Sarah walk through the bright lights of the local fall festival. Sarah explains how she feels trapped in this small town, using her photography to capture the true hidden essence of people. John feels a profound connection, realizing they are both looking for a place to belong. Suddenly, Mark and his gang ambush them in the dark woods near the festival. They grab John from behind and throw him to the ground, while Mark smashes Sarah's vintage camera. John's rage completely takes over. He stands up, his eyes flashing with raw power. He strikes Mark with incredible superhuman speed, knocking him backward. John throws the other football players around like ragdolls, leaving them battered and terrified in the dirt. Mark looks up in horror, realizing John possesses impossible strength. John grabs Sarah's hand and sprints away into the dark forest, his heart pounding with absolute panic because he just broke the most important rule. He drops Sarah off safely, but his mind is racing with guilt and fear. When he returns to the farmhouse, Henri is waiting for him, trembling with immense anger. Henri shows John a laptop screen. Someone has uploaded a video of John's impossible fight to the internet. The footage is drawing massive attention. That their location is completely compromised and orders John to pack his bags immediately. They must leave paradise tonight, but John firmly refuses. He stands his ground and declares that he is tired of running away from his life. He wants to stay, protect his friends, and live like a normal human boy. Meanwhile, far away at a crowded border crossing, a massive dark SUV rolls up to a security gate. Imposing, terrifying pale figures in dark trench coats step out. It is the Mogadorians. They use their advanced alien technology to track the online video, instantly pinpointing John's exact coordinates in Paradise, Ohio. The hunters release massive, ravenous, invisible beast familiars into the woods, leaving a trail of absolute decay and terror behind them. The next morning at school, the atmosphere becomes intensely heavy and tense. Sam Good approaches John in the hallway, looking incredibly serious. Sam reveals that he knows John's secret. Sam explains that his father's old journals contain detailed sketches of Lorian symbols and glowing blue crystals. He realizes John is an extraterrestrial being. John decides to trust Sam completely and reveals the truth about his heritage. Suddenly, a strange, beautiful girl in a leather jacket watches them from the shadows. This is number 6. She has been tracking John for weeks, knowing that the hunters are converging on the town. Back at the farmhouse, Henri is suddenly ambushed in his dark basement by a group of local conspiracy theorists who are secretly working with the Mogadorians. They tie Henri up and take him hostage in an abandoned warehouse. John receives a frantic, broken distress signal on his alien tracking device. He realizes Henri is in grave danger. John tells Sam everything, and Sam immediately steals his father's truck to help. They drive furiously through the dark rain toward the abandoned warehouse, John's heart racing with immense panic and fear. John bursts through the warehouse doors, using his blinding Lumen light to disorient the captors. He fires devastating energy blasts from his hands, knocking the armed guards through the walls. He sprints to Henri and cuts the ropes. But suddenly, the lead Mogadorian commander steps out from the deep shadows, holding a plasma cannon. The commander fires a massive energy blast straight at John. Henri leaps forward without hesitation, using his own body to shield John from the lethal shot. The blast hits Henri directly in the chest. John screams in pure agony and despair as Henri collapses into his arms, coughing up blood and growing weaker by the second. With his final breath, Henri looks into John's tear-filled eyes and tells him that he has a bright, powerful future ahead. He tells John that he must unite with the remaining children and fight back to save their dying home planet. Henri's eyes close forever. John weeps over his guardian's body, his heart completely shattered. But there is absolutely no time to mourn. The warehouse begins to shake violently as the terrifying alien beasts surround the building. John calls Sarah and begs her to meet him at the school immediately, warning her that something cataclysmic is coming. Sarah trusts him completely and runs to the dark school. They reunite in the shadowed hallways, but suddenly, the glass windows shatter into millions of sharp pieces. The Mogadorian army has arrived. Blinding red energy blasts rip through the school corridors, melting metal lockers and turning classrooms into raging infernos. John, Sarah, and Sam run for their lives, trapping themselves on the dark roof. The pale hunters corner them, raising their weapons to deliver the final killing blow. John prepares to fight to his absolute death. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the roof. A fierce, beautiful warrior girl wrapped in a leather shield drops from the sky. It is number 6. 6 possesses the incredible legacy power of absolute fire resistance and weather manipulation. She generates a massive energy shield, deflecting the red plasma blasts effortlessly. 6 looks at John and tells him that it is time to stop running and start fighting together. The 2 alien warriors lock eyes and unleash their combined fury. 6 charges into the Mogadorian ranks with incredible superhuman speed, slicing through the hunters with a dual-bladed staff. John leaps down, firing brilliant blue fire. The battle transforms the high school into a chaotic war zone. Suddenly, the massive, monstrous alien beasts burst through the concrete walls of the gymnasium. The creatures roar with terrifying power, their razor-sharp teeth dripping with venom. Sam grabs a fallen alien weapon and fires wildly to protect Sarah from the beasts. One giant beast charges directly at John, knocking him through a set of heavy bleachers. John feels his bones shattering, but his deep connection to his real family wakes something primal inside him. But the lead commander is still standing. The commander corners 6 and overpowers her, throwing her against the brick wall. He turns his plasma cannon toward John, mocking the weakness of the Loric race. John gathers every single ounce of raw power remaining in his body. He raises both hands, channeling his telekinesis to rip the massive metal stadium lights from the ceiling. The heavy lights crash violently down onto the commander, pinning him to the floor. John leaps into the air, his hands burning with a blinding, incandescent blue-white light. He strikes the commander's exposed chest plate, channeling a pure energy blast that triggers a massive, blinding chain reaction explosion. The lead commander disintegrates into ash, and the remaining Mogadorian soldiers retreat into the shadows in absolute defeat. The next morning, the bright sun slowly rises over the devastated, smoking ruins of Paradise High School. John, 6, Sam, and Sarah stand together in the quiet courtyard, battered but alive. Police sirens echo loudly in the far distance, signaling that human authorities are closing in. John knows that his life in Paradise is completely over, and he can never be a normal human boy. He turns to Sarah, his eyes filled with immense sadness and profound love. They share a deeply emotional, tearful goodbye. John promises Sarah that no matter where he goes in the universe, he will always find his way back to her. Sarah wipes her tears and promises to wait for him forever. John turns away, his heart heavy but filled with a new, unshakable sense of purpose. He walks over to 6 and Sam, who has decided to join their mission. The 3 of them load Henry's high-tech files and alien crystals into a truck. John looks back at the small town one last time.